On November the 26th, 1922, British archaeologist Howard Carter knelt before the entrance of a tomb in Egypt's Valley of the Kings. As his financiers, Lady and Lord Carnarvon, looked on, Carter cut a small opening in the sealed door and inserted a candle into the dark space beyond. He stated of this, "At first I could see nothing, the hot air escaping from the chamber causing the candle flame to flicker, but presently, as my eyes grew accustomed to the light, details of the room within emerged slowly from the mist. Strange animals, statues, and gold, everywhere the glint of gold. For the moment, an eternity, it must have seemed to others standing by. I was struck dumb with amazement, and when Lord Carnarvon, unable to stand the suspense any longer, inquired anxiously, 'Can you see anything?' it was all I could do to get out the words, 'Yes, wonderful things.'" Carter had discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun, a pharaoh of the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt's New Kingdom. Though Tutankhamun was only a minor pharaoh, reigning a mere 9 years before his ultimate death at the age of 18, the intactness of his tomb and the splendid treasures found therein immediately made him a household name and set off a global craze for all things Egyptian. Many of the elaborate grave goods discovered in Tutankhamun's tomb, such as the pharaoh's solid gold burial mask, have since become cultural icons. But often overlooked among the piles of gold and jewels are a pair of objects that may very well be the most extraordinary of them all, for they come not from this earth, but from the sky. This is the story of King Tut's extraterrestrial treasures. As with all pharaohs, Tutankhamun was buried with everything he would need for his journey to the afterlife, including food, furniture, chariots, board games, and even weapons, including 2 daggers tucked into the wrappings of his mummy. The first, found along the pharaoh's right thigh, has a solid gold blade, a handle decorated with intricate geometric patterns executed in colored glass paste, and a gold sheath embossed with feather designs and a hunting scene. The second dagger, found just above the pharaoh's waist, is of a similar design, only instead of gold, the blade is made out of iron. This is highly unusual, for at the time of Tutankhamen's death, around 1325 BCE, iron was extremely rare in Egypt, with a large-scale iron smelting not appearing until the 6th century BCE. This made the metal more valuable than gold. For decades, archaeologists assumed that the dagger, or at least the iron used in its manufacture, was a gift presented to the pharaoh by a foreign kingdom, such as the Hittites. However, in 2016, a team of researchers led by Daniel Camelli from the Polytechnic University of Milan conducted an analysis of the blade using X-ray fluorescent spectrometry, which suggests that the weapon may have had an altogether different, even unearthly origin. The analysis revealed that the blade is composed of 88.4% iron, 11% nickel, and 0.6% cobalt. This is even more unusual than the existence of the blade itself, for the nickel content of the iron smelted before the 19th century had never exceeded 4%. However, there was one source of iron available to the ancients whose composition closely matches that of Tutankhamun's dagger, and that is meteorites. Meteorites, pieces of space debris which re-enter the atmosphere and reach the ground intact, are classified into 2 main types: stony meteorites and iron meteorites. As the name suggests, iron meteorites are composed mainly of iron, though many have a significant nickel content ranging anywhere from 5 to 35%. According to the 2016 study, the composition of Tutankhamun's iron dagger places it in the median of a group of 76 previously discovered iron meteorites, and almost exactly matches that of a meteorite found in Egypt's Karga oasis. This strongly suggests that the iron used to make the dagger came not from the earth, but from the sky. This discovery is consistent with many other ancient iron objects found in Egypt, including a set of tubular iron beads found at Gerzeh, a pre-dynastic burial site 70 kilometers south of Cairo, dating to approximately 3600 BCE. Analysis of the beads using electron microscopy and CT scans revealed features consistent with iron meteorites, including a 30% nickel content and intersecting bands of the alloys tynite and chymosite called widmastatin patterns, albeit highly distorted from the metal being cold worked into shape. 19 smaller objects were also found in Tutankhamun's tomb, including a miniature headset and amulets in the shape of ceremonial blades. These are also suspected to be made of meteoric iron, however no detailed chemical analysis has yet been performed. If Milan Polytechnic's analysis is correct and Tutankhamun's iron dagger was indeed crafted from a meteorite, this adds a significant spiritual dimension to the object, as the ancient Egyptians placed great religious importance upon the sky. Objects falling from the heavens would likely then have been revered as gifts from the gods themselves, and worthy only of a pharaoh. Indeed, for much of ancient Egypt history, the word for iron literally translated as metal from the heavens. But while the origins of Tutankhamun's iron dagger were relatively straightforward enough to establish, established, the provenance of another mysterious treasure took considerably more detective work. Discovered in a chest in his tomb's treasury chamber was an elaborate pectoral, a type of large necklace popular in Tutankhamun's time. Made of gold, silver, and semi-precious stones, the pectoral incorporates a number of common mythological motifs, including a winged scarab, a boat, Urias cobras, lotus flowers, a lunar disc, and the wedget of Eye of Horus. The scarab was often used to represent the sun god Ra, as the beetle's habit of rolling balls of dung reminded the ancient Egyptians of Ra rolling the sun across the sky. The body of the pectoral scarab is made of translucent yellow-green material, which Howard Carter initially identified as chalcedony, a variety of the mineral quartz. However, more recent analysis has revealed that the gem lacks the crystalline structure of quartz and is, in fact, amorphous. In other words, it's made of glass. This is highly puzzling, for as with iron smelting, glassmaking did not appear in Egypt until long after Tutankhamun's death, no earlier than 500 BCE. So how did the pharaoh come to possess such an unusual object? A vital clue to the mystery of the glass scarab appeared in 1932 when British geographer Patrick Clayton was exploring the Great Sand Sea of the Gilf Kebir Plateau, near the border of Egypt and Libya. Scattered through the sand was found numerous small pieces of translucent greenish-yellow material. In 1998, Italian mineralogist Vincenzo de Michele compared this material to the scarab in Tutankhamun's pectoral and confirmed that they were both made of the same material. Clayton had originally assumed that the stones were the quartz-rich remains of an ancient dried-up lake bed, but later analysis revealed that they were in fact made of glass, and thus would only have been formed at high temperatures. Though often thought of as a man-made material, glass occurs abundantly in the natural world, with one of the best-known varieties being obsidian or volcanic glass, which forms when lava cools rapidly. There are also fulgulites formed when lightning bolts fuse sand into glass. However, Libyan desert glass, as the yellow-green chunks are known, has a composition entirely different from obsidian and fulgurites, with traces of metals such as iron and chromium. Furthermore, there are no known volcanoes, extinct or otherwise, anywhere near the Gilf Kebir Plateau. Thankfully, there is another natural phenomenon violent enough to melt desert sand into glass. You guessed it, a meteorite impact. When a large meteorite impacts the ground at high velocity, it generates a tremendous amount of thermal energy that melts and scatters rock and sand within the impact zone. This molten rock then cools and solidifies into glassy, globular, or dumbbell-shaped objects known as tektites. However, while Libyan desert glass could only have been formed by some sort of extraterrestrial impact, nobody has ever found any trace of an impact crater anywhere in the area, nor are the glass pieces consistent in composition or shape to known tektites. Bizarrely, the mineral the desert glass most closely resembles was formed not by natural processes, but by the most violent of mankind's creation. In the early morning hours of July 16, 1945, night turned to day as the world's first atomic bomb, codenamed Trinity, was detonated near Alamogordo, New Mexico. When the scientists who built the bomb later inspected Ground Zero, they found not a crater, but a large sheet of greenish-yellow glass. This glass, dubbed trinitite, was formed when the sand from the desert floor was sucked up into the fireball, liquefied, and rained back down onto the earth. In 2013, eerie similarity between trinitite and Libyan desert glass led Professor of Geophysicists Jan Kramers of the University of Johannesburg to theorize that the latter was formed by a similar but completely natural phenomenon, a comet exploding in the atmosphere. Such an airburst, Kramers argued, would not only have generated the 2,000 degrees Celsius temperatures necessary to melt the desert sand into glass, but would also not have left any visible crater. Furthermore, certain trace elements found in Libyan desert glass, particularly iridium, are more commonly found in comets and meteorites than in terrestrial minerals. This theory is consistent with another suspected comet airburst, the 1908 Tunguska explosion in Siberia, whose effects, such as leaving trees around Ground Zero standing upright, were similar to those of an atomic bomb. However, a 2019 study by Dr. Aaron Cavosi of the Curtin School of Earth and Planetary Sciences in Perth, Australia, calls Kramers' theories into question. When Cavosi and his colleagues analyzed crystals of what they believed to be zircon trapped in the desert glass, they discovered that it was, in fact, a different mineral called radite. Radite only forms at extremely high pressures and temperatures, far higher than those generated by a comet airburst. Indeed, while an airburst can generate pressures in the millions of pascals, the meteorite impact can generate pressure in the billions, indicating the latter was in fact responsible for forming the desert glass. However, as mentioned before, no traces of the corresponding impact crater has yet been discovered on the Gilf Kabur Plateau, though radiometric dating of minerals trapped in the glass indicates that the impact occurred around 26 to 28 million years ago during the mid-Oligocene epoch. Thus, among the piles of gold, silver, jewels, and other marvelous treasures stuffed into Tutankhamun's tomb, it is these two often overlooked objects, an iron dagger and a greenish glass scarab, which are most befitting of the pharaoh, worshipped as he was as a living god on earth. And when Tutankhamun died and was buried, their celestial treasures would have returned from whence they came. For as the pyramid texts of the pharaoh Pepi II tell us, he flies who flies. This king flies away from you, ye mortals. He is not of the earth, he is of the sky. Speaking of ancient Egypt, ever wonder who broke the Sphinx's nose? Well, go check out our video on the subject here to find out.